In today's video, it's another one that many of you have requested. We review what the carnivore Dr. Paul Saladino eats in a day. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, just a quick reminder that I'm now offering the SIBO, organic acid, stool test and consult via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video. Medicine pays, hey?
What is up, you guys? I am back in Costa Rica and I just got back from surfing. I'm going to show you guys what I eat in a day. I'm about to eat my breakfast. I'm going to walk you through all of it.
Let's see what monstrosities he has in store for us.
Before I went surfing this morning, I got up at like 5:45 here in Costa Rica, did a little bit of movement. We're going to show you guys another video with that. And I ate a little bit of food before I went surfing just to kind of give my body that signal of abundance. So I broke my fast early. I actually don't like fasting throughout the morning. I want to break my fast. I had a little bit of honey and a couple of coconuts, and then I went surfing.
So there are obviously healthier ways to start the day. Honey is going to hit your bloodstream really quickly and then cause your blood sugar levels to go up and down very quickly, so it's not really sustainable energy. So I'm not entirely sure why Paul refers to this as a signal to his body of abundance.
And now we're ready to eat breakfast, which is probably the biggest meal of the day. I like getting in my protein early in the day. I think there's a real clear evidence for getting a lot of protein in the morning for an anabolic stimulation, for muscle growth.
So I certainly think there is some truth in what Paul is saying by getting more of your calories earlier in the day. As the saying goes, eat like a king for breakfast, a prince for lunch and a peasant for your evening meal. But in regards to Paul's other statement, there is zero credible scientific evidence anywhere that eating more protein in the morning will cause you to build muscle any better or quicker than eating the same amount of protein for lunch or dinner.
I really enjoy local fruit in Costa Rica. This is all local fruit. These are coconuts that I like to drink the water from. I've got some organic bananas, an organic papaya, and this is a fruit. It's kind of like a lychee grown here. So this is going to be my breakfast. I'm not going to eat all this fruit right now, but I'm going to eat maybe one banana, a couple of these lychees, half or a quarter of this papaya, and then I'm going to have some honey with the food as well.
That's quite a concoction there. It's also amusing to see that for someone who is called the CarnivoreMD and who has openly bashed carbs and fruits, that his diet is now propped up by them.
Then I've got the meat, which is the main course. This is what animal-based is all about. The most nutrient-rich foods, meat, organs, and the least toxic plant foods, which are fruit.
Based on nothing more than his opinion. It's funny how the longest lived people on the planet all eat predominantly what Paul refers to as toxins, i.e. lots of fruits and vegetables.
So in terms of the animal foods, I'm always going to be thinking about organs. I've got some heart. This is all grass-fed, grass-finished. There's an amazing farm here in Costa Rica that I get this from. I've got a little bit of liver, about half an ounce of liver, which is going to go down this morning. That's raw liver. I'm going to grill this heart. And then here, I've started to thaw out some testicles.
No, just leave it. So I'm sure Paul would make some nonsense claim that eating testicles will somehow boost testosterone. But come on, dude, you're literally putting nuts in your mouth.
I love eating testicle. I think it's really a powerful organ. If you don't have these organs, if you don't have fresh organs, I or you can get desiccated organs. That's why we do what we do at Heart and Soil. I got my collection here to show you guys. The whole package is the one with the testicle. I take that a lot.
Testicles in a bottle. Whatever next.
You can see the whole lineup there. You guys are familiar with what we do at Heart and Soil. In terms of the meat, I'm gonna eat about a little more than a pound of meat this morning. You guys have probably heard me talk about this. I like to get a gram of protein per pound of body weight at least a day. Right now, I've been feeling really good with a little more than 2 pounds of meat per day. I weigh about 170 pounds, 165, so I'm definitely getting 1.1, 1.2, sometimes even 1.3 grams of protein per pound of body weight every day.
For an average human, this is excessive protein intake, and this falls outside all of the health guidance around the world.
And then I think that the biggest question that I always get is fruit and honey with your meals. Do you eat the fruit and the honey with your meals? And the answer is yes. I don't really worry about food combining.
At least he is not making another bogus claim there.
We were out hunting with the Hadza. They had a fresh kill, and while half of the tribe was hunting more for baboons at the time, another few of the Hadza hunters went with us, and we found a hive and we ate honey, and then we were a few minutes later cooking baboon on fire and eating the organs and sharing it with the tribe, with the Hadza.
Yes, that is true that the Hadza tribe eat baboon and honey, but what Paul is not telling you is that the Hadza diet is primarily plant-based. They eat berries, fibre-rich tubers, many other fruits, leafy green foliage, nuts, as well as birds and wild game. So it's funny the spin that Paul tries to put on this type of what he would call an ancestral diet, when in reality it's a primarily plant-based diet.
If you feel like you have a massive problem combining fruit or honey with meat, maybe there are things to eat separately, but for me, this doesn't bother me. I don't worry about this at all.
If you have problems eating fruits, then you have to ask yourself why and then try and fix that why, rather than going on some weird elimination diet.
And then people say, what do you do with the honey? How do you eat the honey? There's a lot of ways to eat honey. Sometimes I just take it and I eat it by the spoonful. Sometimes I'll even put it on the steak. So that's probably what I'll do today. I'll show you guys how I'm gonna put honey on the steak, make honey steak.
It's so predictable with these carnivore people. They will all say to begin with that all fruits and vegetables are bad, and then when they can't stick to these diets, they will start drip feeding fruits and carbs back into their diets under whatever narrative suits their purpose.
It's amazing. If I'm making burgers, I'll put honey on the burgers, and that's how it goes. The other question I get a lot of the time is how many carbohydrates are you eating per day? So the honey and the fruit, I think if I'm ballparking it, I'm getting close to 150 or 200 grams of carbohydrates right now.
How tragic. These comments always remind me of one of my favourite memes.
I feel really good with this. I do not count my macros, guys. I don't count my calories. I don't count my macros. I eat the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. I eat organs, either fresh or desiccated. I eat well-raised meat, grass-fed, grass-finished meat. And I eat locally produced organic fruit as much as I can. I get out in the sun, I surf, and I don't worry about calories, I don't worry about macros, I eat to satiety.
And he doesn't care what 99% of the world's leading scientists say on red meat.
What I do with the steak is I just take this Maldon salt, put some salt on the steak. I like this sea salt. It's kind of a rough sea salt. The chefs out there would probably say that's a finishing salt. I'm probably using it wrong, but I don't care. You might notice that I'm very simple with my spices. I'm only going to use salt. Do not use pepper. Do not use pepper. I am not a fan of pepper at all. Pepper is a seed. Remember that in the way that I conceptualize things from an animal-based diet, you have to think about which parts of plants are the most toxic.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently pepper is now a toxin that will cause autoimmune issues.
And for me, it's pretty clear that plant seeds are quite toxic for humans. Plants put all kinds of defense chemicals in their seeds to dissuade us from eating them. Us and other animals. They put digestive enzyme inhibitors, they put enzymatic inhibitors. Pepper contains a compound called piperine, which inhibits detoxification enzymes in the liver.
Okay, if these were so toxic, then why do animals not have these types of issues? And why do humans, with the exception of those with underlying gut issues, also not have these types of problems? I think he is pulling these claims out of his, testicles.
If you want the full name, it's UDP glucuronosyl transferase. So pepper contains a compound called piperine that's going to inhibit your phase 2 detoxification in the liver. This is why compounds like curcumin, which your body is actually trying to get rid of, end up in much higher amounts, 2,000 plus times amounts in your body when you eat pepper.
This is one of the dumbest comments that I have ever heard come from a doctor's mouth. There are many different foods and compounds that can inhibit phase 2 and also the cytochrome P450 enzymatic pathways. So for example, cooking meat at high temperatures, like Paul will do with those steaks, releases polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which are known to inhibit the cytochrome P450 enzyme CYP1A2. And there are many studies that show this. For those of you who don't know, P450 enzymes are important for the clearance of various compounds in the body, as well as hormone synthesis and breakdown. So therefore, by Paul's own logic, he should stop eating meat because it affects the detoxification pathways in his own body.
You don't want lots of curcumin in your body. Your body's smart enough to say, hey, this is not a compound I want. If you have more questions about why I'm not a fan of turmeric and curcumin, that's for a separate video. But there are no spices on this table other than salt.
Imagine living in a world that you have that much anxiety over your food that you can't even contemplate having a sprinkle of pepper.
All right, let's go cook some steaks. Grill is hot. On go the steaks. Gonna throw on the little heart as well. Get that some sear. We'll be good to go.
You can't eat those, Paul, as your P450 enzymes will be impacted.
When I was with the Hadza in Tanzania, they cook everything on a fire. So they don't worry about charring the meat, obviously, but they don't worry about cooking on fires.
And they also don't worry about eating fruits and vegetables either, being predominantly plant-based.
I've done a lot of videos in the past about meat and cancer. I think that the way that I'm cooking the steak on the grill, I'm not worried about this at all. I think cooking over a fire, cooking over a flame, is totally evolutionarily consistent and wouldn't worry about this.
I just love the logic of this guy. Don't worry about asbestos, as we have always used asbestos.
All right, so steaks are cooked. Got a pretty good sear on them. I might have overcooked them a little bit, but it's gonna be delicious. I'm gonna show you guys one of the ways that I do honey. This is a raw, local honey.
I suppose he has to get some flavour into those steaks somehow.
Here in Costa Rica, though this may seem sacrilegious, I freaking love just taking the honey, putting it right on the steak. Don't knock it till you try it, you guys.
Imagine this is the only thing that you have to look forward to on a daily basis. Just look at the absolute state of it.
All right, guys, so I'm sitting down to my meal. I showed you how I like to put honey on the steak. Got the heart here, got the lychee, banana, some of the papaya, a little coconut water, honey, maybe a little extra honey. And this is how I do it. You guys have seen how I eat in the morning after a beautiful morning of surfing, being in the jungle, being in the earth. My version of the remembering in Costa Rica.
Well, at least he is getting some fruit in his diet now. Maybe in another year, his narrative will change again and he will be eating some sweet potatoes and kale.
The last thing I'll say is a lot of times when I show people that I eat some fruit, that I eat some honey on my steak, they get worried about blood sugars and glycemic indices. And I'm gonna do a whole podcast. I have a whole podcast. I have two podcasts actually about my results of my continuous glucose monitors. This is what I'll say. I don't worry about my glucose levels. I do not believe there's an absolute glucose level that you don't want to cross. What I look at is my fasting insulin, which is less than 3.
It's funny how so many of the carnivores actually convince themselves of the words leaving their mouths.
My C-peptide, which is less than 0.5. My HSCRP, which is less than 0.3, right? So I know that I'm extremely insulin sensitive, despite eating carbohydrates. Fructose in the food matrix does not cause insulin resistance. I'll repeat that. Fructose in the food matrix does not cause insulin resistance.
That's actually one thing that I will agree with Paul on from this video.
It's not bad for you. This is a completely evolutionarily consistent meal. These foods are all sourced locally. This is honey from Costa Rica, papaya that grows on the tree right over there. This is meat, banana. All these foods occur in Costa Rica, occur at this latitude. This is not evolutionarily consistent. This is not contributing to any degree of metabolic dysfunction at all.
Again, he is so funny here. The traditional Nicoya diet in Costa Rica has been heavily studied as it's classed as one of the blue zones in the world, with some of the healthiest, longest lived people on the planet. They typically eat black beans and white rice on a daily basis, along with berries and different fruits. They also eat a lot of potatoes and corn tortillas, and yes, they have some animal foods in their diets, but their diet is predominantly plant-based. But Paul would have you believe that they only eat steak, honey, coconut, and a little bit of fruit.
What does contribute to metabolic dysfunction? That's the subject of a separate video. That's amazing thunder, you guys. It's Costa Rica, this is the remembering. But the main issues are sugars removed from the food matrix and seed oils. So I'm gonna wear a continuous glucose monitor in the future. We'll do a separate video of that. But what I've seen in the past, when I eat a similar amount of carbohydrates to this, is the blood sugar goes up, maybe to 140, maybe to 150, maybe to 160. I'm not worried about the absolute high.
Your blood sugars are designed to go up and down. Shock horror.
It comes immediately back down. The area under the curve is very small, and the insulin sensitivity remains quite exquisite. So don't fear fruit, don't fear honey, Don't fear these things in the food matrix. And all too often in the nutritional community, these concepts are conflated. Concepts, studies, experiments that are done with food that is stripped away from the food matrix is conflated with food that is complete in the matrix that might have sugars or carbohydrates in it.
Oh, conflated. What you mean when you go on Joe Rogan and conflate that fruits and vegetables are toxic for humans.
This is how we thrive. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I want to give my body a signal of abundance. This is abundance. Carbohydrates, meat, organs, nutrients. These are abundance. That's what you want. That's how you thrive. That's how you reclaim your birthright to radical health. All right, guys, enough of this video. I'm gonna get after this.
Bizarre day of eating and also claims, just another day in the life of Paul Saladino, or Paul Salad No. Anyhow, that's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out this one up here because I'm sure you'll find it equally interesting. And the only other thing that's left for me to say is to remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.